So my first question is about the bill that you have recently pushed forward to the Senate. Why did you think that this was the right time to move on with this bill? Why couldn't this happen either 5 or 10 years ago? You spoke after your meeting with the president. You told about a new day in the U.S.-Cyprus relations. Was this the reason for you to push now at this moment this bill to the Senate?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My reasoning for the timing is because I think we have a confluence of events that make it propitious for an Eastern Mediterranean strategy and cooperation to take place. We have Greece, that is a significant NATO ally, also part of the EU, that has been playing a role with the United States in Suda Bay and other efforts, and that is enhancing its cooperation with the United States. We have Cyprus that has shown that it is moving in a direction in which it is also pursuing greater participation in regional forums, a whole series of trilaterals that have taken place, engage with other countries who share our values collectively and who want to see peace and prosperity in the region. We have the discoveries by Cyprus, Israel, Egypt of some significant energy reserves. So we see Cyprus doing some significant work on its banking sector and money laundering questions that both the United States and the EU, as an EU member country, have been asking it for, and it's made some significant progress in that regard. So there's a whole host of events that says this is a propitious time for us to work together in common cause in order to achieve security, peace, prosperity in the region, and with countries who share our values. And so I think that the prospects are good, and that's why I also think it's the right time.
But it had nothing to do with the tensions between U.S. and Russia or U.S. and Turkey, because some said, and especially in Turkey, this is about the Turkish state news agency, Peace With Me, that this bill could be seen as a kind of retaliation to Turkey and Russia's agreement to buy and sell the S-400 missile system. Even the TRT, sorry for interrupting, called this bill that you put forward to the Senate as a scandal.
I won't respond to a state-owned entity making whatever descriptions they want. I will say this. This is not about Turkey, and it's not about Russia. It is about the countries in the Eastern Mediterranean who want to come together, who have shown on their own initiative through a series of trilaterals between different countries, where they've invited the United States, Secretary of State, Secretary Pompeo was recently at the trilateral, I believe it was in Israel, at the end of the day, who are coming together in common cause. I want the United States to be part of that and to nurture that. We have tremendous assets that we can bring to those initiatives. We have experience in the development of energy, and there are American companies that are engaged, like Exxon. We have, through our international military training, opportunities to enhance the abilities of Cypriots and their self-defense, as well as our engagement with Greece in this regard in foreign military financing. We believe that we can create centers of excellence in the region on several of these issues, for example, in energy cooperation. We believe that the countries that have this opportunity have an opportunity not only for their own national improvement economically, but also to help, for example, diversify Europe's energy markets. And freedom to choose is an essential element of a democracy, even in the context of an economy and an energy. So if you're hostage to one entity, you don't get a lot of choices and they affect it. If you're free to choose among, for example, in this case, different markets, that's different. So that's the reality of what the bill is focused on. Having said that, we recognize the realities of the world as it is. And the realities of the world as it is, Russia has been a malign actor, as is exemplified in their invasion and occupation and annexation of Crimea, their continuing engagement in eastern Ukraine, propping up Assad in Syria, trying to undermine our elections in the United States, as we speak, trying to undermine the elections in the European Union to break European Union unity, the Skripal attacks, and so much more. What happened in the Kerch Strait, which is in international waters. So Russia is a malign actor, and we recognize it as such. We wish that it would observe the international order and be part of the international order, but it's not chosen to do that. And Turkey has been a NATO ally. We've always had the aspirations for Turkey to be a bridge between East and West, to be a democracy with a secular government. But under President Erdogan, it has moved in a different direction, where the S-400 will have its own consequences having nothing to do with this legislation. If Turkey chooses to ultimately consummate its deal on the S-400, under existing U.S. law, not focused on Turkey, but under existing U.S. law, any major purchases of military equipment from Russia is sanctionable under U.S. law, under CAATSA, and so therefore Turkey would be sanctioned if they consummate the deal on the S-400. It would also be an undermining of NATO and its interoperable abilities. You cannot have an F-35 parked next to an S-400. It's just not going to happen. And therefore, it will also lose the opportunity on the F-35s, which will affect its defense industry significantly. So Turkey will face its own decisions, and if it chooses to go in the pathway to Russia and the S-400, they will have separate consequences. The bill has nothing to do with those consequences. Those will take place independently. So the bill is about bringing like-minded countries together in a security architecture and an energy architecture for peace and prosperity in the region.
Okay, in the bill you have described Cyprus as a key partner to US in its security and energy policy to the Eastern Mediterranean region. How can a small divided island like Cyprus, which has in its soil a big number of Turkish troops, can actually serve this US policy in the region of the Eastern Mediterranean?
Well, I think that first of all, the government of Cyprus is a democratic government. Democracy is very vibrant here. I've seen the experience from all of the political players here and very vibrant press here, freedom of religion. So there's a very vibrant democracy, number one. Number two, it's a member of the European Union. And the European Union has collective standards. These are not American standards, these are EU standards. Those standards in large part fall in comity with the United States of sharing values of democracy, freedom, human rights, open markets, economies, and whatnot. So it has that standing as well. Thirdly, its opportunities and its new energy reserves that it's found and can ultimately develop creates an opportunity for Cyprus to be an even more significant player, because not only will it create prosperity for Cypriots, it will also create an opportunity to be a player in the energy markets within the region and to ultimately, hopefully, diversify European energy so that they are free to choose from other places other than Russia, which right now produces 80% of all their energy. So therefore, it's all these reasons create a very significant opportunity. It is geostrategically located in a very important place. It could be the bridge between East and West. It is constantly engaged with its neighbors, not only in Israel and Egypt, but in Jordan and beyond. And so I think it can play, and is playing in many respects, a very significant role. I could think it could even play a bigger role and it is a role upon shared values and principles.
In a recent interview to our correspondent in US, Mihalis Ignatiou, actually, you said that the biggest US mistake in the region was the arm embargo against Cyprus. Why do you believe that? Why do you think that that was the biggest mistake of the US foreign policy in the Eastern Mediterranean, not lifting the arms embargo?
Well, the arms embargo was meant to not create a antagonism towards Turkey, in the hopes that the lack of an antagonism would create an opportunity and a foundation for which there would be a resolution, a reunification of the island, and peace and prosperity would take place. That hasn't worked out. It hasn't worked out because we have thousands and thousands of Turkish troops, significantly armed, in northern Cyprus. The Greek Cypriots were left with no other options in terms of their own defense than to go purchase essential weaponry from elsewhere, including from Russia. So we neither achieved the goal. Turkey didn't move troops out as a result of saying, okay, there's an arms embargo, nor did we have Cyprus engage with the West, whether it be the US or others, in the purchase of military equipment from us, which makes them more interoperable with our security aspirations. We actually push them towards others to purchase, including from Russia, which then creates influence, in a country. So I think that in that respect, I look at it as a mistake. It neither achieved the purported goal, nor did it create an environment in which Cyprus could have chosen to purchase US military equipment or other Western countries, particularly in the NATO umbrella. So I think in that regard it is a mistake. And while I don't expect that while our legislation will lift the embargo, I don't expect that Cyprus is going to rush to buy large amounts of military equipment. No, on the contrary. It has always been a peaceful nation. It's like any sovereign nation, its defensive rights and obligations to its people. I think to the extent that it may have an opportunity to purchase, it will be for that purpose. But it also is beyond the actual lifting and giving them an option to hopefully purchase from the West. It is also a statement of the deepening of our relationships that I think are also very important.
Okay. How should the USA face the aggressive or the problematic allies in the region that instead of choosing to negotiate, they choose to violate the sovereign rights of USA's partners in the area? And I'm speaking about Turkey. Clearly, we saw a number of violations of Cyprus' exclusive economic zones, threats daily anymore. So how is the US willing to face this kind of behaviors on behalf of a neighbor to Cyprus country and a NATO ally of the US?
Well, I'm very proud to see that the United States has made it unequivocally clear that it is the position of the United States that Cyprus has the right to develop its exclusive economic zone for the benefit of all Cypriots, and that U.S. companies, including ExxonMobil, are here in exploration. I think that speaks volumes of the U.S. view, both on the private sector side as well as the governmental side. We expect Turkey or any other country to observe the international rights of Cyprus and the development of its energy potential in the exclusive economic zone. And I think it would be a miscalculation for any country to interfere with Cyprus's right to develop that, and it will be made very clear as such. And the fact that you have not only U.S. companies, but other countries of NATO allies and European Union members, I think is a very strong statement that it would be foolish to be engaged. And at the end of the day, I'm very happy to see in my meetings with President Anastasiades, as well as the energy minister and the foreign minister, that there is a commitment that whatever ultimately is achieved in actual revenue from these energy potentials will be deposited in a sovereign wealth fund that ultimately will inure to the benefit of all Cypriots. So I think it's very clear what the intentions are and why Cyprus, first of all, under international law, and secondly, in its intended purpose, should be allowed to fully explore. Why is it that you would seek to limit, if you want to help Turkish Cypriots, why would you seek to limit the rights of Cyprus to be able to explore in its own economic zone and develop the potential for all Cypriots? You would be limiting Turkish Cypriots at the end of the day, as well as all Cypriots. That doesn't make any sense. That's not a good argument, and I don't think it would stand in the court of international opinion or in any other court as well.